a lot of my customers say they're just stuck in this blur of digital and world changing and everything like that, and they can sort of see the high level opportunities things, but they just don't know where to start. And I think for me, the most rewarding thing for me is helping an organization, but then in doing that, you see an individual grow.
Welcome to Jane Jackson Careers, a podcast that takes your career to the next level. Here's your host, Jane Jackson, author of Amazon Careers bestseller, Navigating Career Crossroads.
Welcome back to my Careers podcast, where I interview fascinating professionals who've had amazing career journeys or have transitioned into entrepreneurship. Now, today, I'm very privileged to have on the show Marc Havercroft, who's the Vice President of HCM Cloud Strategy and Transformation. He brings more than 20 years' experience within the future workforce strategy and transformation, helping clients adapt their HR strategy to meet the opportunity of the new digital world and the future workforce needed. His expertise includes advisory and strategy and workforce design for organizations going through major change, as well as new entrants into the Asia ANZ region from both greenfield to M&A structures. From talent acquisition to talent management, Marc provides clients with not only high-level visibility on current and global trends, but is able to turn this into meaningful workforce strategies that truly deliver. He's worked across industries from financial services, telco, energy, media, digital, social, and to the public sector as well. He's a fellow of ARI, the Australian Human Resource Institute, and CIPD, and is based out of Sydney, Australia, where he lives with his wife and 2 children. Now, Marc and I worked together many years ago, and his career journey has been such an interesting one that I'd love to be able to share it with you. So welcome to the show, Marc.
Thank you, Jane. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for taking time out. I know, well, I'm in Sydney and you're in Brisbane today, so I really appreciate your time today. So how about, just to kick us off, I always like to find out a little bit about your career aspirations during your early days when you were a young boy.
Well, it's a good question, actually. I had my sister visiting recently, and we were discussing, as we grew up, what we wanted to be and different things like that. So this may sound a little strange. I know it's Friday, but my first aspiration was to be an elephant. So
I wasn't expecting that, Marc.
No, my sister's very adamant in the fact that that's what I wanted to be. So, well, you know, obviously I didn't achieve that for obvious reasons. But I think when I was younger, I always had an interest in technology, everything from the first lot of PCs like ZX Spectrums and Commodores. I'm probably showing my age, but those were the sorts of things I was interested in. And then, I don't know about career aspirations, but I always thought, well, you know, all the older folk around me seemed to be working. So technology was always part of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't really that clear on the specifics of it.
And now, fast forward many, many years, and you're the Global Vice President of HCM Strategy and Transformation and Digital Strategy and all things HR and leadership and development. That's your thing. How did that journey go? Because I had a look on your LinkedIn profile, just going way back when, and you've worked in executive search, you've worked for Singtel Optus, HBOS, IBM, Mercer, many, you know, mostly in talent management and leadership. So can you give us a little transformation history? How did you make all of these changes? Because it sounds like a really interesting career journey within human resources. Yeah,
it's I've had a few ex-colleagues and people ask me the same question, because it's and I say to them, first, there was no grand plan. I think the first thing I think I've always done is I've always taken opportunity, and what I mean by that is sometimes for example, when I was in executive search, I was working in that field, and then the company I was working for bought a job board. Monster.com was the job board that they bought, and you know, they were sort of they had some commercial challenges of getting, I guess, recruitment companies to stop putting adverts in paper and use online job boards. So I took an opportunity to work with the leader of that business. It was way back when in the UK, and that sort of started my journey around, I guess, HR and technology. At that side, it was, it's just another medium, a job board, and obviously probably old hat nowadays, but at that time, everybody was looking in the back of the big broadsheets for their jobs, and recruitment companies were selling those job spaces to clients to advertise their jobs. So that led on to some experience in technology, and then the company acquired other companies. And the other principle, and I got this from my first boss as well when I left university, was whatever job you're doing, do it well, and that will bring you opportunity, rather than always looking at the next job and I guess being resentful of your current job. So taking opportunity and working hard to do the job you're doing well seems to be the two sort of key pivot points for me.
And how did you find transitioning from one organization to another in different industries as well? Because, being in telco and then going to IBM and then to Mercer, there must have been quite a difference in the corporate culture. How did you adapt to that?
Yeah, look, I've always found, and I think maybe working in consulting, you work with a lot of organizations, and the problems are the same, but obviously the cultures and things are different. But the actual root cause problem or the output they want is the same. You've just then got to understand the industry and the dynamics, and then the dynamics of the different companies. For me, I think it's all about, emotional intelligence skills. It's the ability to connect with people, irrespective. I think we all have preconceptions of lawyers and bankers and all the rest of those things. And look, some of those conceptions are very true. I've met those people, but some are also very, very different. So I think it's a very sort of corny thing, but it's really about being adaptable, and being sort of socially and emotionally aware of the environment. People are people at the end of the day, whichever organization you join. So I think as long as you get good connection with the people around you, and most importantly, you're clear on what the measure of success is in the job that you're doing, the rest seems to fall in place.
I've been talking a lot with people about workplace values recently, and when it comes to leadership development and job satisfaction and really feeling, you're in the right place at the right time, what's your opinion on workplace values, the values of a team, the values of the organization, and how it helps people to really be as productive and motivated?
I'm a huge believer in it. I mean, my job, we've got some fancy titles and different things, but ultimately it's really about getting the best out of people. And in any business that you're in, people are the business. I do a lot of work with companies now about digital transformation, and I say to them, well, look, if the people aren't clear on what you're doing and you're not aligned values and they're not really clear on what the purpose is, it doesn't matter if you're a biscuit factory or a high-tech company, it's not going to happen. So I think I believe it comes back to sort of how we behave as human beings. I mean, it's, manners and values, I think, are inherent in anybody's character. So I think it's the same in a business. So I think it's important to be clear on what those are and live those. And, they don't need to be lovely corporate, lovely HR buzzwords either. I mean, it as long as it's clear, and it's it's lived, and the values, like where I work at the moment, I've worked in two big technology companies, and I can say certainly the values of how people are treated can be very different. Whether you like one or another, that's a personal place, but I think both lived by those values, and you knew it when you went in. So I think it's extremely important, and I think it's important for the individual and their productivity. It's important for a business owner and understanding the culture of their workforce as well.
Yeah, values are so important, and you're absolutely right with regard to emotional intelligence. It's you need that in order to be able to communicate effectively. A lot of what your work focuses on is HR strategy, and then meeting the opportunity of the digital world and the future workforce. So, what can you explain to us about how things are changing because of digital now?
Yeah, look, I'm just travelling around on a sort of roadshow thing that we call the art of the possible, and fundamentally, there's a couple of things that come out to me. Is people are worried about technology, so they're worried about robots taking their jobs and artificial, and that side of things, and there's also a lot of companies being challenged by the digital world, if you like, both from employees, 5 generations in the workforce, and people basically expecting to have the experience they have on their phone in the work environment. So many times people go to work and they, oh yeah, we'd love to do that, but the system doesn't let us do that. So that's that's the sort of, I guess, the dichotomy of change. I guess the points I say to people is, number one is that there's a great quote. I think it's Neil Postman who says that it's either we let technology rule us or we rule technology. So I'm a technology optimist, and I see a great deal of opportunity with technology for people in their careers and their jobs. I mean, a lot of administrative tasks or labor-intensive tasks can now be done by a machine, and that doesn't mean that people lose their jobs. It means that there's an ability for the human to move on and use our best asset, which is our brain, really. Machines are invented by us and do things based on somebody's ideas and wants and an output that we want. So I think you've got to be a bit of a technology optimist, and you've got to start to look at the job that you have and also the knowledge that you have. You can be a warehouse manager and have an extraordinary amount of knowledge of how logistics works and supply chains work for a particular company, and that knowledge is critical in any form of automation and use of technology. A machine doesn't know that; it's taught that by a human. And so, look at how you can utilize this and advance your learning. And don't. A lot of people do discount the business knowledge and experience they have, just what you know, rather than what you can do. And that will be the commodity of if you like, jobs going forward. It's what you know, not necessarily what you do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many people do feel afraid that they will be losing their jobs, especially if they're in more of the administrative type roles, which can be either outsourced or automated as well. But I guess the key would be for people to keep upgrading their skills and really know what it is that they want to contribute into the workforce, which isn't something that could be automated as such in order to remain employable. What would your advice be for people who are concerned about specific, or the how, basically? It's the roles that they're currently performing that could be automated. What would your advice be for them to remain employable?
Well, great question. I get this a lot from people, both from organizations who are worried about their workers worrying, and also from the individual, right? So firstly, it's to the individual, I'd say your bosses, if you like, for want of a better word, are worried about this too. So really what I would encourage them to do is, as I said to you, think about the knowledge they have. If I can give you I'll give you a sort of an example. We have a client who has big call centers and had lots of people. And what's happening basically in horses is sort of basic inquiries and website inquiries are being dealt with by machines. I'm sure you've logged onto internet sites and get this little chat thing that comes up, are you okay and what you want to do? Or when you call up a call center, you sort of press 1 for this or go for that, and you can get an automated voice. All that's happening is that sort of administrative work that you as a person is doing, that sort of stuff that keeps you really busy for 4 out of the 8 hours a day, just processing paper, processing claims, ticking boxes on a website, that is getting freed up by automation. So the real question is, well look, that gives you 4 hours back a day. When you think about the business and where it's going, so I talked about a call center. People will always want to deal with people at a certain point. So what I would say is that start to look at, I guess, your business and that value chain of the customer interaction and think, well, okay, I don't need to do all that process work now. So that leaves me free to actually maybe talk to customers, speak to new customers, develop that customer's footprint. And I'm just giving one example from a sort of a call center customer interaction, but it's exactly the same if you were in finance, if you were in IT, that maybe you didn't touch the customers, but you supported that side of the business. Removing all that, admin that we all have to, hive away a couple of hours for a week or a day, frees you up to actually focus on executing what the business wants, which is, let's be honest, which is, keeping customers and getting new customers in whichever shape or form the business is in.
Yeah, I think that sales effort is so important. And then, you know, building the relationships, because while we're, you know, hiding behind a computer, filling in fields in an Excel spreadsheet or whatever it might be, that's just busy work, isn't it?
Exactly.
And it just takes up so much time. You know, just on a really small level for my own, you know, coaching practice, I was spending so much time scheduling appointments, exploratory conversations, rescheduling, changing times or whatever, and the toing and froing via email and phone was ridiculous. So I just installed on my website something very simple. It's a scheduling tool. So whenever anyone wants an appointment, I don't say call me. I'll just go hop on and choose the day and time that suits you, because those are the times that are available for me, and it will work. And if they need to reschedule, they hop on again, automatically do it. Saves me so much time and saves them time as well. I think it's a wonderful thing, and it's freed up, I would say, at least, you know, an hour a day of just faffing about, basically.
Yeah, that's a great personal example, Jane. It's sort of almost a mindset, I find. And I understand, you know, I really do understand, because business worries about that's been you know, when people have that admin in their life, they think that's part of their job, and so actually giving it to a machine, that's the vulnerability that triggers in the human instinct to think, oh, well, gosh, I'm giving half of my job away. Well, it's almost in a mindset think, well, actually, no, I'm getting rid of stuff that's stopping me actually doing the core thing that my employer or in my own business, like yourself, that I need to focus on, where I truly provide value to my customers, and like you will be to speaking to them and coaching to them, not arranging appointments with Outlook and this and that and the other. That's no value to anybody, really. It's so you freed up time to be more supportive to your clients, you know, and no doubt, with due respect to your admin, Jane, that scheduling software is probably a lot better at it as well.
Without a doubt. I get too grumpy when I have to reschedule things, or I get the time wrong. And in fact, the scheduling tool's more accurate than I am. So there you go.
That's, you know, that's what it's great. I always say there's two things. There's automation and there's digital transformation. Don't get the two confused, you know. Automation is taking something and improving it, whether that be with robotics or improving the process, but it's the same output. It's still an appointment, but it hasn't drawn you in. Because at the end of the day, you know, when all is said and done, when we do this, we all deal with people. We all meet people at the end of the day and do things. You can do a lot over technology, but as humans, we do business with people. And you know, 80% of communication is non-verbal, right? So freeing up your time makes a new shape for your job, but will make you more productive in your own business, or in you know, as an employee in another business.
Yeah, you know, your passion for what you do really comes through. Tell me, what's the most rewarding aspect of your current role? It's helping people see the wood from the tree. It's almost a bit like a lot of my customers say they're just stuck in this blur of digital and world changing and everything like that, and they can sort of see the high level opportunities, but they just don't know where to start. And I think for me, the most rewarding thing for me is helping an organization, but then in doing that, you see an individual grow. You know, you see an individual go from worrying about their job being taken over to a robot to, you know, loving their job and loving working with automated machines and you know, advancing this and that side of things. And to be honest, I like, you know, I'm lucky I'm in a good job. I just like demystifying it all. You know, it's ever since I was a young kid, I always used to, you know, there was all buzzwords and things around technology. It's you know, it's really sort of, you know, reasonably simple at the end of the day, but we, you know, as humans, we like to make things complicated. So I honestly just like helping a company through, I guess, all this noise and helping them, you know, achieve what they want to do. I'm lucky I get to see, you know, companies like Under Armour go from making T-shirts to now having, you know, full fitness digital apps and great sort of customer experience and growing their business, all the way through to biscuit factories in Belgium who were about to go bust as a 100-year-old business and now is, you know, using automation and digital to you know, challenge the big guys and continue with a really well-known family, you know, business. And I think
at the end of the day, I always look at all these things as human beings. And I think that's what gives me the greatest joy, like it does anybody, when you see somebody go from being in a position of concern or confusion into, having a clear direction and it sounds corny, but just being happy in what they do.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like you found, the perfect balance, really, because you're so passionate about the tech side, and then you're passionate about the individuals and the people too, and it's like the perfect sweet spot that you found. What would you say for anyone who wants to get into human resources, talent development, leadership and development? What would be your top 3 tips for success?
So going forward, right, you no longer need to work, your way up, if you know what I mean. I think there's a lot of careers that have been that you sort of start, as a junior, then a manager and all that. And so HR, you get, HR consultants, HR managers, so on and so forth. The workforce now going forward in this digital world is an asset. It's not a necessary evil. It's not a cost on the balance sheet. It's an actual, it's probably the number one commercial asset. So if you want to get into the world of HR, it's no longer going to be about, compliance and things like that. It's actually the key difference in any business. So, go in it with a business mind. I have a great customer, and she says to her CEO, we're not a HR person in business, we're a business person in HR. So, if you're passionate about that, of that side of things, then don't get sort of caught up in the fact that you might not be in that role now. There's so much opportunity and change in the world. So go and find opportunity. Like I said at the top of the call, for me, it was just get something that you're interested in and do it well. The career follows, the rewards and things follow. But once you do find your passion and you follow it and you're enjoying it, I can speak from experience. Opportunity comes along that you've never even thought of when you started out. But it will come along. So just get stuck in.
I like that quote. You're not an HR person in business, you're a business person in HR. So it's almost like really thinking like an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, always thinking, or maybe as a consultant, how can I make this better? How can I make it better for all of us? That's truly valuable advice. Yeah. And now, one thing that we hadn't actually mentioned yet is that where you are the global VP of HCM Strategy and Transformation is SAP.
That's right.
And I've been reading a lot about how very workforce friendly SAP is, because they really encourage remote workers as well, don't they?
Yeah, look, well, yeah, it's like everything, and look, this is an 80,000 strong sort of company. It's the biggest software company in Europe. It's a big company, but like any organisation, be it 80,000 or 8, our leader recognises that if we're going to be around as a business, etc., people are his key asset. So, the business, as you were talking about before, has a value about valuing its people, and you value your colleagues, and that's certainly not based on job title or location or anything like that. It's just a human basic of treating people how you'd like to be treated yourself. So, I can certainly say that the company really does do that. Some would argue to a fault. I think it's a good fault to have. And we've won various awards around the world for employers of choice and things like that. But all that is great, and it's part of our board reporting and our reports to the market about our value for our people and what we do about learning and teaching. But to me, the biggest thing is that I said we're 80,000 people, but I walked into the office in Brisbane. I was in Melbourne yesterday and stuff. It's lived at everybody in all levels. Everybody respects each other, and you talked about values before. It's one thing to have them; it's another thing to live them, if you know what I mean. So, I'm very happy where I am, and it's good to see that it's not just rhetoric and it's lived out day to day.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful to be in a place where you can really live and breathe your values, and others also respect that and are true to themselves as well. So, what an interesting conversation we've had, Marc. That's fantastic. So, if anyone wanted to find out more about you, where would be the best place for them to go?
Well, I guess in the world we live in, Jay, might go start at LinkedIn.
You know what's so good is that despite it being such a digital world now, you are getting on a plane and you're going and you're shaking people's hands and looking them in the eye, because there's nothing more important than that human contact.
They demand it, Jane. That's the meeting I've got today. We've got people flying in from France to for us all to meet. So that's, I guess, to your point. Without people worry about digital technologies and things, you still need people to get together. And as human beings, we like to see each other and sit down together. It's how we work as a group, if you like. So it'll never go away. Just like we're doing this podcast, these methods just help us with distance and that continued conversation.
Thank you so much, Marc. It's been a really interesting conversation. I wish you very well in Brisbane and all the rest of your travels as well. And we'll have you come back onto the show again and tell us more about all the new initiatives and artificial intelligence and digital transformation in about six months' time or so.
No worries. Anytime, Jane. Anytime at all.
Lovely. Thank you, Marc. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Today's podcast is brought to you by audible.com. You can get a free audiobook download and free 30-day trial at audibletrial.com/Jane Jackson Careers. There are over 180,000 book titles to choose, so give it a go and get your free audiobook today from audibletrial.com/Jane Jackson Careers.
You've been listening to Jane Jackson Careers. Sign up to receive regular career advice at janejacksoncoach.com.